we can get rocking. I think, of all saw a lot yesterday that upset me and hurt as well. But I think one of the things that probably felt like 5 fingers across the face was, man, you guys didn't look like your defense, what you guys have been playing. And the reason it probably hit me was because I felt that was right, and didn't play, to the standards that we've seen and what our excellent looks like. I think we've seen that over the last couple of weeks. So when it doesn't happen, you certainly, feel about it. But I do know this about our guys, and I really know them well. And this is a Warrior crew and what they're about. And I certainly know that we'll grow from this. And I'm looking forward to seeing that too. So with all that said, we'll open up and get rocking on stuff that you want to hit on for today.
Dan, David Moore, Dallas Morning News. When you have a performance that's uncharacteristic, especially in the run game, which is everyone talks about, we know this is how people attack us. What were you seeing that didn't happen in that game yesterday?
I think and it was really a tale of 2 halves. The first half went just so poorly, David, and the explosive plays that happened, for 40 yarders, 50 yards. That's the stuff that just a lot of times our speed and energy can make up maybe for a miss hit or one that's just not there. And so that's what I really wanted to make sure we're emphasizing all the ones to go. We had 6 missed tackles in the game, so it wasn't a super sloppy game in that space, but we just didn't play with that relentless energy that we've kind of grown to know and appreciate about our group. And so they ran some of the similar schemes, quite honestly, in the second half, but give credit to them. But, we ended up playing those, like we're capable of.
Clarence Hill, Forster, told me. DeMarcus Lawrence talked last night. He said that it may have been good for y'all to not feel on top of the world after 2 games. Do you think that coming in, that the defense may have felt too good about themselves and wasn't as honed in and focused to start the game?
I didn't sense that during the week in terms of the preparation, for sure. And I thought Law played, he was, to me, one of the unheralded guys who just really played strong and consistent and tough and all the stuff that we love. Sometimes you have just a performance that you're not pleased with at all. And I think that was us. If you went around our locker room and asked, there was a lot of pissed off people, and as we should be. It just was not up to the standard that we've set for ourselves. So I'd hope we don't need it, but by the same token, when you're going through a difficult performance, you do grow from those. I'd love to say that you learn a shit ton from 40-0 and some other ones to go, but that ain't really the truth. And you have to have some of the adversity go your way and come back out on the other end and show what you're capable of. So you don't like it to happen as a coach, for sure, but I also know that is part of it. And like I said, I know these guys. This is a Warrior crew. These guys will respond like crazy. And that part I'm very much looking forward to being a part of. It's the same things that you love about the profession that pisses you off, and other nights you can't sleep because you're so pissed off. So those are the ones, and that was one of those days yesterday.
Coach, Aisha Morse-Cowboys.com. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a few times in the game that I noticed that I thought that the Cardinals took advantage of the smaller lineup, or they took advantage of the nickel. Was that something that you adjusted to in the game, that they seemed like their jumbo and combo blocks were something that they were trying to catch you guys in smaller lineups and take advantage of?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. I would say sometimes we get bigger when they do or not. I just, quite honestly, just didn't feel like ourselves some in the first half of the game. And I'd love to say there was, a number of them, but it was the big plays that really cost us and put us behind. And, for us, to come out of the game with not a lot of big plays, no takeaways for us, that's a big factor, for us to give our offense the chance to go get the ball again and do that. But I didn't feel it was necessarily a size issue or, things of that nature. It was more us misfitting a hit or, not being, correct as we wanted to be. And I thought we got that corrected, but it was, certainly disappointing at the first part.
Sean.
Yusuf, The Athletic. Dan, this isn't a question about your defense in particular, but just defensively speaking, when the offense comes into the red zone, fundamentally, what are you trying to prevent? What are you trying to take away and limit them in that way?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it kind of also depends where you're at, because the higher you are, obviously they can still throw, over the top of you. That's sometimes that mid-red zone that's in that space that's, do the runs go up into that area? So I think, when you go from high to what could happen from, as you're checking, throwing the ball down the field where you still have shots to do that, where it gets in that mid space to where maybe now some of the crossing routes go because you can't throw over them. And I think as you get closer down into the low red zone, man, the flat and the back line, that's the stuff that you have to really defend horizontally and not as much vertically. So I think it kind of depends where you're at in the red zone, but it's definitely such a big topic in what you do. Most teams don't do tons of things defensively down there just because of where the field shrinks. And do you use your middle field safety? Do you double to somebody? And there's lots of little tricks of the trade that you can use. But by and large, man, you really have to play tight. You have to match quickly because you just don't have much time to go. So I'd say those are some important tenets to playing good red zone D.
How do you balance that with stopping the run and the pass? I mean, is it kind of one over the other? Or how
yeah, I would say you have to. I would say you have to probably think square and strong in the run first to make sure if they are going to throw some stuff. But again, I refer back to like the high and the low. When you're up high, you have some space that if you wanted to double somebody or play a different coverage, you can. When you get down low, there's not a lot of gray area or time to miss hit on something. So you better be pretty firm and play it on your run first, knowing that you're going to have to play some man-like coverages down low. We could have a whole conversation on that alone, just all the different intricacies that go into it. It's kind of what makes coaching a lot of fun, where you're on the field and how do you do it.
Appreciate it.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. You talk about the run defense. Is it a lot of guys talk about the run fits and those kinds of things? What about the physicality? Are you seeing that from your guys?
I have. I thought over the last first 2 weeks, I really felt that. The physicality. So I don't want to say, one game is who we are. I didn't say that in the first game either. So I wanted to make sure. And these ones, what really hurt us, I thought, we had 5 big runs. We call them explosives. And they all happened to be in the first half. And I thought that really set us back. One on a quarterback on a read play. So that didn't have anything to do with our physicality, just us not quite, handling our job responsibility onto that specific one. No, I would say my answer is not on the physicality, but at the end of the day, man, we got to make sure 6 missed tackles, too many for us. Explosive runs, too many for us.
Communication, how much was that a factor in some of those bigger?
The big pass play for sure was one that we'd like to have back over. It's one that we have done correctly many a times, but you haven't seen us, lose a coverage or lose one over the last few years, I don't think. And so to have that happen, that was a bummer for us to see. So, like I said, I've got unbelievable faith in this group of guys and what they stand for to make sure our performances look like we want them to.
Joe.
Joe Hoyt, Lone Star Live. Josh Dobbs ended up being the fastest ball carrier that game. I guess in terms of run fits, how much did his speed maybe affect some things and having to kind of respect that zone read element?
Yeah, I thought he did a good job. I mean, let's give credit where credit's due to make a read and pull it and then get down the field and be aggressive with that. And we saw that, I think it was in the Giant game. He had a long run out. It wasn't a run play, but it was a pass, and he scrambled to go. So we knew the speed was there for him, and we'd have to tackle him like a running back. We just honestly didn't execute it for him, on the long run that he had. But I got to give credit. I'm sure that's where the speed one came from.
Michael Gelkin, Dallas Morning News. Deron Bland, how did you feel he transitioned and did
I thought he was one of the guys that stood up to me in a really solid and strong way. I've always been impressed by Deron's tackling, and I saw that on display again yesterday. So for him to move outside without a lot of work doing that, I thought that was a real sign of what he's up for. He's always down for the challenge. So we've been working him with some outside, but once you get into the season, you kind of fall into your normal rhythm. So after practice Thursdays when we made the move for him to go, full-time outside. So I was pleased with what I saw from him and Jordan as well going, more reps inside.
Deron, it's never seemed too big for him since he's been here. How would you just characterize his mindset? He seems very locked in at all times.
He does. And I kind of think he's like a little bit of a wolf in sheep's clothing. This is a really good competitor. And you're right, though, that it's never been something that's like, oh, man, I wish I had a chance at that, or I wish I could do something. He's always just been so consistent and so steady. He's really one of our glue guys because you can really count on him to get it done, whether he was playing outside or inside, and he's certainly going to go do that again.
Babe.
Babe Loffberg, Cowboys Radio.
You want to have some red zone discussions earlier? You know a little bit about that. Yeah. I said, you want to have some red zone discussions we just had earlier as a quarterback? Yeah? No. See, I got you all flustered. Go ahead.
You do. Yeah, I will tell you this, as you know, defensively, 3 times offensively, Cowboys ball at the 11, that becomes tough down in there trying to, but for another day.
Yep.
A question for you. So, here's a team, Arizona obviously lost 9 in a row, had what happened to them the week before. You guys closed it to 5 and the defense comes out and it just looked like, okay, now it's going to change.
Correct.
They're saying, oh God, here we go again.
Yep.
And then obviously the big play. So
Yep.
was that as disappointing as anything getting on the field at that point?
Yeah, because I think when you're down and you got to fight your way back and you get to that spot where it's about to turn to go, because I really thought we came out strong in the second half and made the adjustments in the one to go. Because, like I said, the first half was just, it went as tough as it could go for us. And so let's settle down. These are the calls. This is how we'll go get it on. And so we really felt like the tide was about to turn there. Get a stop, get it back to the offense and going. And so without us creating any takeaways, we knew we were going to have to get some good stops. And so to see the field, flip just like that, definitely think, that's one of those adversity moments that you still got to get that one stop there and get them to attempt a field goal at that space.
John. John Machota, The Athletic. For you personally, when there's a game like this, do you do anything differently after the game? Like, I don't know, the amount of times you watch the game, or is it, it's the same process, win or lose?
Well, I'd like to stay in the same process, but not exactly. There's certain things that you may want to emphasize more. If something just isn't right, you want to make sure that gets corrected, gets adjusted. And also when it goes on the other one, sometimes you can, if you have a really good game, you can, sweep things under the rug, so to speak, that you might have missed. And I think it's as important when that happens, hey, we could have been vulnerable to a play here. Let's make sure we get this handled. So sometimes you can shine a light on it, and you certainly can. I'd love to say that all the lessons are the same, wins and losses, but I think we all know that's not the case. That when you have these moments like this to teach from and grow from, you better use it. Otherwise, the pain of yesterday wasn't worth shit. So you might as well make it count and say, let's get the lessons learned and get back to playing like we like to play.
Yes.
Jessica Barnes for Football Network. Dan, can you talk about the penalties? And, you talked about a very uncharacteristic game. What is your message going forward and how to kind of...
Yeah, I think really the combative ones, those are going to happen some. I think we had one on Jordan and one on Duran to go. It's the pre-snap ones. We had a couple of false starts. Not all of them were accepted, but we had those. And then in a 4-minute, you just can't have any because that, is going to get an automatic first down and we're trying to get the ball back. Those are ones to go. So I think the combative ones, that's part of our style, and we live with that, knowing that we're going to play aggressive. We're going to try to just push that edge as far as we can. But the pre-snap ones or ones that, was a combative one that we can handle, we really got to square that away. And knock on wood for us, we've been better in that space up until yesterday. I certainly anticipate that going back to the way we like.
Dave.
Man, we haven't had a chance to talk to you since Trayvon's injury. Just your thoughts on losing him and as a play caller for you, not having that skill set on the back end, do you have to adapt how your game plan a little bit going forward or the impact that has on
Yeah,
you?
I'm glad that you brought that up because I think on Thursday, when that injury happened, you'd be surprised how many people, would text me, next man up. And I think if any of those people had been in the doctor's office here outside the locker room and had to deal with, somebody who was that hurt and broken, they wouldn't say next man up. There's a player behind that helmet of what they stand for and who they are and how hard they have to work for it. And I think Trey was realizing that moment he's not going to be able to do what he wants to do this year. He's going to come back? Hell yeah, he's going to. But he also recognized he's going to miss a really cool moment with a special group of guys. So in that instance, I wasn't thinking about next man up. I was thinking about this player and this guy and the dude and what that is. So I'm glad that you brought that up because it wasn't an ankle sprain, where he was going to miss 2 games. We're going to knock him out for the year. And he had a sense for where, this could go and what we were going to be about. And so that hurt him a lot. And it hurt some of the other guys too because they know how close they are to him. So, yeah, that was a big deal. As far as play calling goes, I think it's honestly, matchups. If there's somebody that we would put Trey to, do you still able to do that with the other guys? And as we go through the season, we'll work through that. We don't move around a ton in terms of, putting into match, and we hadn't done that this year, so it's not a lot that we were doing. But it's just hard to replace somebody with that kind of ball skills, and I really thought Trey was playing some of the best football he's played in his short career. So we'll certainly miss that, ball hawking mindset. And but at the end of the, just want to make sure he's good and make sure he's going to come back and he's going to do great. But I'm glad you brought that up.
Two quick questions. Did you ever think about moving Gilmore to the other side? Because I know Bland played most of the left side last year on the outside, and I don't know if you ever thought it was a
Not
short-
at that week because of the time that we did, and that's something that we would discuss, as we're going, but we didn't early on. The good news is, you guys probably saw why we played Bland outside in preseason, just because he was working so much in nickel. Those were game moments to him to plan outside. So I appreciate the staff and him trying to make sure when these storms come, you have to be ready. And so that's why you do all the contingency planning and camps and left side, right side, play outside, play inside. And when you have a big, deep crew, you're fortunate that you're able to develop them and push them into that space. But yeah, it's some of the things that we'll look into over the, now that's going to settle more into a natural environment.
Secondly, the linebackers. How do you think the linebackers played?
Overall, it was just a tough performance, for a lot of the guys. I thought, two of the guys, not talking linebackers in specific, I thought two of the players that jumped out, or three of them, I would say, that jumped out to me, I thought really played strongly was D-Law and Hooker and Bland. I thought those were the ones that that really, made some good plays, made some ones to give us some chances to go, be aggressive and finish like we want. Overall, I'd say if you asked around the locker room, a lot of guys would say it wasn't their best performance, but that's not specific to a linebacker spot. I'm just talking on our entire group. But those three would have been ones that I would point out to say, so I know Hook got into some, that was not his play that went down the middle of the field at the end of the game. He gave us a chance to go make a stop and go get that one down. So that was actually quite a good play by him, to say, I got to go back and get this guy down. And he did that, just give us a chance to go. So, but those were the three that stood out to me. Past that, it wasn't our best.
Nick Harris, DallasCowboys.com. The Cardinals offensive line did a pretty good job of getting into the second level. Whose responsibility is that? Is it the front to bottle them up a little bit more, or does that second level need to have a little bit more guidance on that?
Yeah, I'd say it depends on the front that you're playing. If you're in 5 down spacing, 5 bigs down on the line, then you don't get as many of the climbs to go. On this particular one, they had more pullers probably that would get outside to go. We just got to do a better job, honestly, of setting our edges and how we want to go. But I wouldn't say it was one person's responsibility over another. It really depends on the call.
Mike, when you was in here talking about how this week emphasizing the red zone is going to be a big part of the offensive focus, is there an equivalent for you and your guys this week? Something that you really want to harp on?
Well, yeah. But I would say for us, I want to make sure every time you watch us play, you see how we get it on. So it's not specific to red zone or short yardage or goal line. I would hope you see our speed, our hitting, and the way that we run. And that's what I hope you guys would see us when you watch us play again this week. And so that's a number one, top of the pile for me.